So I'm a little bit of a stickler for semantics and definitions. And I think part of what irks me about the idea of a high value man or woman is that value is given to something by someone else. So it's the regard that something is held in, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. And to think about that in terms of human beings, like you're a useful or important or worthy human being, like that's kind of gross, actually. But hi, I'm Nicole, licensed clinician, and we're talking about everyday things that impact our mental health and fitness. And I'm addressing the trend lately of a lot of people talking about high value men and high value women, and also comparing that to alpha male and alpha female and what they actually are versus what we've kind of turned them all into. So, putting semantics aside and the actual dictionary definition of value aside for a hot second, let's explore this a little bit more. In my previous video, I gave just like the general what pops up on a general Google search of these terms and kind of outlined some of the differences between the two. So now I decided, okay, I'm going to go the route of WikiHow and so to maintain consistency between high value male and high value female and just kind of take a look at what they define it as. So starting with a high value woman, again, they're described as someone who has high self-esteem, knows her worth, stands up for herself, embraces her femininity. I can't talk apparently. So she's intuitive, nurturing, creative, and empathetic. And also has a high level of emotional intelligence, can manage her own emotions, and always holds herself accountable for her actions. And going a little bit more into detail about some of them, um, they say that a high value woman is often considered marriage material or a desirable partner for men. Obviously, we're just looking at heterosexual type of relationships. Um, and it goes on to say that like men are usually attracted to high value women because they recognize their own value and they don't seek validation from others. So a high value woman is not going to be somebody that you find on OnlyFans or maybe at a strip club or posting pictures, thirst traps, right? Um, because that's seeking validation from other people. Um, you might also, it's not just physical things, but, and this goes for anybody, right? Like when we're seeking validation from other people, and that's determining for us our value or worth or whether or not we should have confidence, it kind of means that other people can have a lot of influence over our emotional state, over whether or not we continue to pursue certain dreams, a plethora of impact, right? So the high value woman is, or man in this situation, is going to be supremely confident, which we've talked about with alpha male, and then also with alpha female, this confidence of, hey, I know who I am, and I don't need anybody else to define that for me. Again, scrolling down a little bit more, under embracing her femininity, they again talk about not needing to wear revealing clothes to attract men, that her personality is enough to capture everyone's attention. Um, she also minimizes the amount of information that she shares about herself to maintain a certain level of mystery. So, I mean, honestly, like it just kind of goes on along the same vein that we've talked about a little bit already, having that growth mindset, always learning and growing. Um, Again, with emotional intelligence, establishing and maintaining boundaries. So there's no question if somebody else is overstepping a boundary, and that's not just giving ultimatums and like not delivering consequences. It is actually delivering the consequence that's appropriate to the unwanted behavior and being confident in that and being able to maintain that. She's kind to everyone. She's independent, mature, prioritizes self care, so physical, mental, and spiritual self. Um, which I think is interesting that they kind of go into a little more detail there and says like she eats balanced meals, works out regularly, and gets plenty of sleep. Um, I just I can't with that because I mean, who these days gets to do those things, honestly? And God forbid she's a mother, like you're not doing any of these things really. Blanket statement, gross generalization. Um, Many new parents don't get to do those things, right? So if you're a new parent, are you not a high value woman? Do you lose value because like you had a kid and like you can't do these things again yet? I'm sure that there's like a little like asterisk or provision for that somewhere, but you know, we'll see. She has a solid circle of friends, remains true to herself. So communicating non-negotiables from the very start of a relationship. Now that can be like a friendship, a work relationship, a romantic relationship. There may not always be a platform to communicate like, hey, like boss, you absolutely cannot treat me like this if you're like in an interview. But being able to know in yourself that like, hey, if I'm in a toxic work environment, I need to leave. Right. And remaining true to that rather than saying like, oh, but you know, like I'll be here for the money and whatever. Um, Having high standards, clear about relationship goals, taking things slow in relationships. So this is a little bit more along the lines of like relationship stuff, which is the context in which society today is talking about high value men and women.